There are a number of people in this country that refuse to admit the fact that climate change exists or that climate change is caused in part by human activity. And part of the reason why is because you have certain Republicans that will say that that's absolutely not true, or you'll have the Koch brothers fund scientific studies that say that climate change is not man-made. But what I particularly love is when you have people who say that we have nothing to worry about because God is on our side. In fact, some of our elected officials think that. Take a quick look at this video that was produced by Climate Desk. They did a great job by doing this little mashup, and it's unbelievable. Take a look.
Still up there. And this is the arrogance of people who think that we, human beings, would be able to change what he is doing in the climate is, to me, outrageous.
The second verse comes from Matthew 24. The earth will end only when God declares it's time to be over. Man will not destroy this earth. This earth will not be destroyed by a flood. Two other issues, Mr. Chairman. Today we have about 388 parts per million in the atmosphere. I think in the age of the dinosaurs, where we had most flora and fauna, we were probably at 4,000 parts per million. There is a theological debate that this is a carbon-starved planet.
I would point out that if you're a believer in the Bible, one would have to say the Great Flood is an example of climate change. And that certainly wasn't because mankind had overdeveloped hydrocarbon energy.
We were put on this earth as creatures of God to have dominion over the earth, to use it wisely and steward it wisely, but for our benefit, not for the earth's benefit.
And again, thank you to Climate Desk for that awesome video. My favorite quote was actually from Rick Santorum, who's like, yeah, we were put on this earth to rape it of its resources. What are you guys complaining about?
It's honest. I mean,
Is it though?
well, I mean, from where he's standing, at least he's being honest about it. I love Joe Barton, the congressman from Texas, who says the Great Flood was an example of climate change. Katrina, though, nothing to do with climate change. You know?
Nothing to do with anything. You know, would it be nice just to see once in a while, somebody at when these Bible thumpers starts to talk about the Bible in a scientific discussion, if somebody would just say to them, hey, maybe you put your first century magic book away and we talk about like grown-ups now. Let's just see what happens.
Ugh.
My favorite quote was actually about the dinosaurs, who presumably walked the earth about 5,000 years ago, I imagine.
Yeah.
But what I love there is that so often, generally, unfortunately, it's the Republicans in the Senate and the House that don't agree with the science that's out there, mostly because they haven't read it. When they talk about like not believing in evolution, there's no way that could possibly exist. Well, we can show you with bacteria, with insects, things that have relatively short lifespans, we can show you evolution acting under controlled circumstances in just a few weeks, sometimes a few months. Like, we can show that it happens as a demonstration that it exists. The idea that we can't affect the climate, when this isn't the first time we've been through this, does he remember, like, they're not 15 years old, they remember acid rain. They remember the hole in the ozone layer. Like, we released these chemicals into the atmosphere that produced acid rain, the CFCs that produced the hole in the ozone layer, and thankfully earlier environmental protection laws helped to reverse those terrible conditions that people at the time worried might be irreversible. We're just doing this again. Like, how many times do we have to have this discussion?
I know.
You release shit into the atmosphere, it causes bad effects.
So going back to what Michael said about, hey, well, at least it's honest, that's why I question whether or not it really is honest, because you have all of this evidence proving not only that climate change is real, but it is man-made, right? But you mean it's honest about them just taking advantage of the resources?
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, like, that's what they do what they say. I mean, it's consistent. You know how I feel about Rick Santorum. So I mean,
yeah.
And so I'm not even applauding him for being, but he's so they're so shameless that they don't have any qualms about getting up and saying
you
that.
should feel weird about saying that.
Exactly, and here he was. Yeah,
he's not couching it or trying to hide it. He's like, hey, look, we're going to do whatever we want. Right? It's all for us. We're kind of greedy, self-centered, egotistic. Everything's about us in this universe.
Yeah.
We're special, special, special.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know whether or not they're being genuine in their religious explanations for what they're doing. Are they using religion as an excuse for doing something that their campaign donors want them to do.
Oh,
You
okay.
see what
I
I'm
see-
saying?
yes, I
That's
see what
the
you're saying.
because I
Do
find
you
it
think
hard
he's
to
a tr-
believe that someone like Representative John Shimkus
Oh.
can say something like, you know, the world will end when God wants it to end. Really, you believe that? So if there's a nuclear war or something like that, then
God
the
wanted
world
it.
won't end. We're not going to destroy our planet. God will look out for us. Okay, so let's just do whatever we want.
Maybe.
He doesn't believe that.
No, well, I see what. Yeah, what you're saying is like he's just using that to confuse his constituents to make him think. But he knows better, but he doesn't care.
Well, I also do think that these people believe this stuff. I mean, I think John Shimkus, you know, you look at what John Shimkus writes, the things he says, even this, you believe that he believes this stuff. There's some wackos out there, and it's
And
a
we
House of
elect them.
Representatives. It's a House of Representatives, so he represents a majority of wackos who think that he's right in line with the way they think.
So really fast, my final point I want to make is here we're attacking the mashup of Republicans as if they're the only problem, and I don't see it that way. Like, there are always going to be the regressives in government who are going to point to their magic books from thousands of years ago. That's always going to exist. What we need are outspoken Democrats, and we have the liberal activists outside of government, but we need the Democrats in government as well that will, every day if necessary, point them out to be the insane, ridiculous, magic-believing figures that they are. Like, thankfully, Obama has done a couple of things in regard to regulating carbon in the atmosphere, CAF standards and things like that. Like, those are things Obama has actually done. But we need this to be, it is the most important issue. Like presumably, it is going to cause massive devastation worldwide over the course of the next 100 years. Like, yeah, Medicaid is important too, but I think that the survival of the human race long term is more important. And I don't think that it's too much to ask that Democrats in the Senate and the House bring it up as often as is possible.
Again, it always goes back to who's financing them and who's funding their campaigns.
And
always
what people
goes
are
back
paying
to that.
attention to. It doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, because it's like the deficit. We have this enormous deficit that nobody really thinks about because it doesn't affect us now. You know, we don't have to worry about. We'll be dead by the time they have to worry about the deficit. Same thing with the earth. You know,
Climate
people
change.
think about what matters to them in the moment, and unfortunately, for climate change, that's a big hurdle they have to get over. Also, there's not one catalyzing event that happens except devastation with climate change. So there isn't a Columbine that makes you say, oh, we got to start talking about, you know, climate change. That's what they're lacking, and sadly, their catalyzing event would be devastating.
Doesn't it seem like we're getting used to devastating weather events?
Yes, well, in a way, yes. I mean, I think so. I think that's that's a whole other conversation
I mean,
because it's about the media and the way they're covered, and
Yeah.
that sort of inures us to them. But I know what
Is
you're
it
saying.
tragedy fatigue or something? Because
Yeah,
it
I
just
think
seems
that's
like
what it
every
is.
week there's a tornado, rip, killed. Hey, Jesus, great, another one. Let's go down. Everybody's doing a prayer
Right.
chain. They're all dying.
It's the same thing with shootings. I mean, unfortunately,
Yeah.
there was a point where if there was a shooting, we would cover it on the show. I mean,
Or a
us,
mass shooting,
or
at the very
a
least.
mass shooting, we would cover it. I mean, it would be something that would be discussed for weeks and weeks, and now it happens so often that we've become desensitized to it. And I think you can say the similar thing, or a similar thing about what's happening with weather patterns and these
It's a
mega
real
storms.
drawback of the 24-hour, one of the
Yes.
myriad, but of the 24-hour news cycle is that we become numb to it. You know, we're glued to it for a moment, and then we move on to something else.